First of all, thank you very much, guys, for joining. I know there is like a competitive session upstairs with, probably someone more famous than myself. So thank you very much for wasting an hour now with me. Probably I will start from one of the quotes that basically says that because there is a lot of, let's say, worries about the AI and Gen AI replacing us in the nearest future, especially in the jobs like development tasks and things like that. And I'm pretty sure this is kind of like one of the considerations for many people, like how to move the career forward to not being kind of like excluded by the skills that the Gen AI already contains. And basically, there is a quote that says that the toolset like Amazon Q is not really here to replace the developers, but to create some kind of like a collaborative environment where we basically can use the tools and its skills to accelerate certain processes. And I just wanted to ask, who do you think said this? It was Amazon Q. So it's quite interesting because I was basically very skeptical in terms of like all the Gen AI solutions and things like that. But the idea on this session came out from this kind of like interest of having like how good this solution is. So before we start, I wanted to introduce myself, but Emmanuel already did this. So my name is Jarek. I'm Polish, so I live in Poland as well. At this current point in time, I'm part of the AWS ambassador programs. I'm part of the AWS community builders, but also I've been nominated a couple of years ago by AWS as a black belt for containers. So I basically passed the entire kind of like graduation path for that. Currently, I'm working as the AWS Cloud Center of Excellence lead for at SoftServe. So my team basically contains like a number of architects distributed across the globe, and where we help customers with anything that is related to AWS transformations, like digital transformations, migrations, modernizations of the applications, but also there are different bits and pieces like Gen AI, AI ML data bits and things like that. That is not necessarily my team, that this is what we basically do. During this session, what I will try to demonstrate is basically Amazon Q developer branch or feature of this service. We'll do the demo. I will show you some kind of like a transformation that is probably also quite interesting, and we put a lot of attention to this, and also the version of the web UI. So not everyone maybe knows that it does exist. And as I said, the inspiration of this session was actually the AWS Ambassador Summit last year in Seattle, where we had the session with the Amazon Q service team, and they were talking like how many good things they actually did in AWS, but obviously I took it with a pinch of salt and I said, yeah, AWS, you can say whatever you want, but I don't believe it's so good. So I tried it by myself, and hopefully I will be able to demonstrate the results. So when we talk about the generative AI stack in AWS, just as a kind of like a reminder, there are different type of the services that basically just do like related to infrastructure or just foundational model training. A lot of people know SageMaker. A lot of people know the Graviton processors and Trainium and Inferentia and things like that. But also there is like the middle ground for the very recent LLMs that is obviously working across the Bedrock, and all this kind of like a models you can run through Bedrock. But there is the application stack that is using the LLMs and other foundational models as well, which is Amazon Q. And basically Amazon Q is quite big service itself, right? So you see it in the console. When you try to, I don't know, get some help or whatever, you've got this kind of like a little Amazon Q icon. You can ask questions. You may not get the right answers though, but there is also the developer capability of Amazon Q that basically is trained to write the code and And this is basically the main focus of that tool set, which is also now split into multiple different areas if we talk about the Amazon Q developer, because there is a just typical developer capability, there is .NET transformation, there is mainframe modernization, and there is also VMware migrations as well, or transformation they say. So where I think the Amazon Q developer is good at, I think it's this kind of like, when we come back to my first slide about this quote, is basically a very good collaboration tool which allows us to speed up the development cycle. And mind you, I'm an architect, I have nothing to do with development, right? Probably I can do the shell scripting, right? But, you know, I don't want to upset developers who will tell me this is not development work. But some people say JavaScript is also not development work. But anyway, so basically, I try to use it in a way, or basically I challenge all these capabilities and functionality in a way that I will talk to it like I'm 5 years old, basically. Right? I don't understand development, and I don't understand like what the lines mean and things like that. The only thing that I do understand is the infrastructure bits and pieces, maybe Terraform, maybe something else, because ultimately what I'm trying to do is deploy this to AWS. But at the same time, when I started thinking about this challenge, and before this session, I actually developed it a bit, but it was not successful very well, so I'm not going to show it. But the whole journey started from the idea that when I was young and I had my first kind of like a computer or whatever, there was no games. I had to write the games, so I had to buy the magazine or newspaper and basically try in BASIC do everything that was written on a paper. In many cases there was like syntax errors or misspells and things like that, and obviously nothing worked at the end. After like 5 hours of sitting, there was something like a syntax error in line whatever, and obviously I didn't know English that well, so I have no idea what was this all about. But one of the successful games that I managed to do was the snake game that everyone probably knows from Nokia phones and from all the other kind of like bits and pieces. So I basically said to Amazon Q, like, let's try and do it. Let's see what you're gonna get. And basically, this is an experiment, and you need to be aware of that. It may go sideways, or it may actually work after 3 minutes. So we basically have a lot of time to look at each other, or basically go upstairs and have another coffee. Because it's unpredictable. I've run it like at least 10 times now, and I presented similar presentation on one of the user groups in Poland as well. And every single time I run it, it goes better and better. I don't know if maybe it's because the model itself is being trained. There is more kind of like a power behind it, so it basically processes the things much faster. But the fact is that the snake game is not actually a challenge for it. But maybe we'll see how it goes, because I don't want to kind of like say it's going to work or not. But let's basically go and try to do the demo. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see it. Oh, there we go. I need to somehow. I should actually use the clone. So just to let you know, basically just remind you, Amazon Q Developer is available as an add-on for VS Code. You can run it from the CLI as well. So there is like an agent that you can install on your laptop and basically just run it, and it has now the same capabilities as the one in the VS Code. There is also the version for Windows that is in Visual Studio 2022 that allows you to run the transformation jobs as well for .NET. Otherwise, you need to use the web UI, which I will try to demonstrate. But basically, oh gosh, this is going to be challenging. Where's the mouse? Well, let me actually try and clone the screen. Maybe that would be better. Let's forget about that, and let's try and do it again. Yep. Okay, so let's get back to the VS Code. So when you try and basically go to some kind of like an extensions, and apologize, this is probably a bit a bit small, so I'll try to make it bigger. Everything here is in Polish because, as I said, I'm Polish, so you know, I will not try to translate. But basically, the Amazon queue comes as a kind of like an add-on to the VS Code, and it comes also with this Amazon queue command line and a toolkit at the same time. So it needs these two kind of like a plugins to operate. And as soon as we get it running, we have basically this kind of like a queue icon on the left that allows us to create basically some kind of like a chat capability. So it basically just talk to us in like a normal language. And before actually, when I did it for the first time, I basically just used like a chat capability. But then I realized there is like a slash thing which shows up like a different options. And there is one of the things that you can see is like a def. So when we do the /def, a lot of things that I had to copy and paste from the window, now apparently it's just working. And if you say yes, it creates all the files, creates all the structures and things like that. So basically, it's just enough that I can tell it like, I want to create a web browser game and like Snake, and I want to deploy to AWS. I know nothing about programming languages. So hopefully it will not select Python as a source code, because then it's going to be fun. But let's see. And basically what is happening now, and by the way, when you first activate it, you just need to use your AWS Builder ID. So it's free of charge, basically, what I'm trying to say. It runs somewhere in AWS infrastructure. They claim it's in the Sandbox account. Which one? I don't know. Nobody knows. Besides them, maybe even they don't know. But it basically starts looking into this prompt and start the generation of the code. So what we're going to see in a second, when we use this developer capability, not the chat capability, it basically very nicely creates like a report saying, this is what I understand, this is what we're trying to build, this is how many files I created, this is how many I modified, this is how many I deleted, and things like that. Maybe I should have just started from the prompt saying, oh, there you go, so it starts kind of like generating it. Maybe I should have started from saying, let's just, I don't know, create a game first, right, without telling it that I want to deploy to AWS, because I'm pretty sure it's going to generate now the CDK, which is not going to work. I spent like 5 hours trying to get CDK working with that. But it would be probably easier, and this is one of the conclusions that I'm having from this exercise as well. It's more now becoming a prompt engineering exercise than anything else. Yeah? So but as I said, I'm trying to talk it to like my 7-year-old son, and you know, just to give it like some little instruction, as little as possible, to see what it can generate. While it's generating it, I can show you there is kind of like a queue capability in the terminal as well. So for example, you can just use like a queue chat, and basically it opens up like a prompt, so you can basically create some bash scripting, like, I don't know, create me a one-liner with summarization of all my files with .c extension. And now it's going to think about that, and it will basically create some command. Whether this is going to run or not, I don't know. I'm not going to try because I have no files extensions like that. Actually, it asked me for something else, but yeah, now that's the proper one-liner, right, with the explanation. So that basically worked. But what we can see in between, it actually created 5 files already, and I'm actually pretty not surprised, but glad that it actually used the JavaScript, because with Python, it probably would be you know, quite challenging, simply because when I did it in Python, I know nothing about like Python in general. I mean, like not like a local programming, but I struggle like with how to test this game, how to get it running and whatever. But by prompting it here as a kind of like giving the indicators, like, I have no idea, can you tell me like how to run it locally? and things like that. It was basically giving me the instructions, which was pretty cool because I was able to create whatever was necessary to get this game running. I'm just wondering what is that YAML file, but I think it's going to be a CloudFormation template to deploy it. But let's see when it's going to complete the code generation, because it's still doing something. So majority of the time, also I should have warned you before I started this demo, is that the majority of the time we spend here is waiting for it to get it completed. So I should have like a storyline behind it so I can get you entertained. Unfortunately, I don't have it. I'm trying my best, by the way. Let it run as it is. What I'm going to show you in meanwhile, just to save a bit of time, I will show you the transformation capability. So basically, what I did today, literally today, I've gone through the web UI for the .NET transformation. It's only available for professional version, right? So you need to activate it to get it working on the AWS. You need to basically have access to your AWS organization, because you need to enable certain capabilities inside this organization to get Amazon Q working, and there is like a hidden option because it's still in the preview. Just remember, it's not generally available yet, that service. They're still developing it. But you have access to certain functionality. So .NET transformation is one of them. And basically, because I'm on Mac, I don't have Visual Studio 2022 that I can run. So it gives you the option to basically get this capability enabled through the web UI. And the way it works is basically you can create Amazon Q to create a job, and this is what you're going to see. So you basically give it a name, but eventually what's going to happen is it gives you some kind of like a steps that it needs to perform. There are some things that you need to invite collaborators, so it's interesting aspect, because you can basically be an admin of your code in the organization. But what you can actually do is delegate or collaborate with the developers, right? So you can basically initiate the transformation process, but you can ask your developers to jump in and help with the transformation. Because mind you, there is a lot of limitations in Amazon Q developer transform for .NET. As I said, they're still developing it, and when the transformation job is unsuccessful, it basically spells out the reasons, like, okay, I managed to do like 60%, and this is the 60%. In Visual Studio, it's way better, because it shows like a massive report with what has been changed and whatever. But generally speaking, 20,000 lines of code modernization takes roughly about 10 minutes. So apparently, when I spoke to one of our solutions architects who's like spent the entire life on .NET, they said just to transform the project structure, like folders and whatever, from .NET Framework to .NET Core, it takes a couple of days, basically, to get it reorganized, not even saying about the dependencies. So the acceleration is huge. And basically what it does is like it discovers through the connector to the GitHub repository, so whatever is supported currently by AWS from the code connection, which used to be called Code Star, for people who remember this legacy thing. So there is like a Bitbucket, the GitHub, GitLab, and few other bits and pieces available to connect. And basically, when we connect, it basically takes the repo, analyzes this repository, and does the transformation. So what is interesting, what it does in the background, is that it actually, first of all, when it takes the project, it compiles it, checks if it's working and if it's functional. If not, then it spills the error saying fix it, right? And then it's a great opportunity for developer capability itself to basically go to the VS Code and say, okay, I have this error, please fix it for me. And it will basically run the transformation before actually the fixing problems before we'll even try to transform. So when we, I will show you in the commits because it's quite interesting. Then when it runs the transformation, it will face number of problems, a number of errors that it fixes on the fly. So basically, it uses like the output, and it uses this GenAI capability to say, it's broken, I have this error, can you fix it? And it fixes it. So it commits again and again and again and again until the project is compiled on the new framework successfully. If it fails for a longer period of time, then obviously it's going to give up and tell us, I managed to convert 60% or whatever of the code, but now you need to sit down and use your developer capability to get it running. So basically it connects to this repository, and it basically, you need to select like whichever repository you have. So I use something that is publicly available basically, and it runs like some kind of like a transformation. So first of all, it's running some kind of like a cold checks with if there are no errors, then it's kind of like transforming to the desired version of the .NET, and then it generates like a Linux readiness assessment, and then it says it's all compatible, so it starts basically rewriting the code. This one is probably not so compelling because that application had like 20,000 lines of code, so you can see that it's kind of like transferred 13,000 and jumped to 20, and it started just increasing, and there are also 3 projects inside this repository, so it transformed all 3 projects to .NET. I didn't try to compile it because I didn't see any reason why I should do it, but yeah, I just let it go. So basically, coming back to our VS Code itself, what you can see, it basically gave some indicators, like I created index HTML file, you can see the source, I created the game, you can see the source, and what it does is basically as soon as you click accept all changes or provide feedback, depending, it will basically do what you ask. So when I click accept all changes, it saves all these files to the disk. Yeah, so they're already in the repository. So when I, for example, go to this repo now, let me just. Where is this Milan thing? There you go. It shouldn't be in this folder, but anyway. When we open it, you can see that it's actually doing something, right? So we can play Snake. And it was pretty easy for me to do. And it even failed, right? One of the versions I had previously was basically going out of boundary and disappeared. So there is improvement in this area. So now I can basically tell it like, I don't need your help, no thanks, and I can basically demonstrate you some kind of like the capability of the chat itself. So I can basically say there are multiple, actually there are quite interesting things because to mention, because there is like an @ thing in Amazon Q where you can point it to the specific reference of the code or whatever. So I use this workspace very often because it means that it actually, before it gives you the answer, it scans the code that is in the specific repository and to give you the most precise answer. So I can basically tell it, I have the code with the game in this repository I want to deploy to AWS. Can you tell me based on workspace, how do I do it? And it's basically going to generate the answer to my question. So I'm not sure why he's going through like all these things. Okay, so it asks me basically to create the S3 bucket and upload this to the S3 bucket. Let's tell it that I want to do it. Oh, actually, let me see if it generated the Terraform template. Okay, we have, sorry, CloudFormation template. So you have the CloudFormation template. What I can do now is basically say, you created a CloudFormation template in this repository in workspace. Can you tell me how to apply it? And I'll quit from here. So it basically gives me some instructions on how to deploy it. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we can try. So we can copy it and tell it to run it, and we'll see what's going to happen. Normally I ask it to like create a Terraform code because I'm the most familiar with Terraform. I have no idea basically what what is going on here. I'm pretty sure this is not fully going to work, because I think the intention here is that it's going to create a publicly open bucket, which our security team at SoftServe will scream that there is a violation of the procedures. They already did that for me to me today, but about Amazon Q itself, not about the bucket. But generally speaking, let me also say, how much time do you have, by the way? 10 minutes. Okay. So probably I will give up on trying to get it running. But let's see if this stack is going to be deployed, because we didn't even check like the syntax or anything. But actually, what I can see here, there's a CloudFront deployment, which means that it would not be a public bucket, I guess. It will. It has to be. Okay. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if it's going to work. But basically, deployment of the CloudFront will take probably more time than we have. But let me get back to my presentation, because I still have a couple of slides that I wanted to show you. So we have the demo successfully. I wanted to go through this kind of like a conclusion. So first of all, as I mentioned, the Amazon Q is free of charge, so we can use it, just using by logging with or authenticating with our AWS Builder ID. The professional subscription is, despite it's paid, is free until it's globally available. So I would recommend go and try it, because you're not going to pay anything for using the professional version of Amazon Q. And especially if you have any .NET transformation projects, I encourage you to have a look at this, because in January, we at SoftServe, we released actually as a first partner, apparently on this planet, the solution that allows us to transform the .NET projects using Amazon Q developer capability. As I said, according to our solutions architects, who are .NET developers as well, I mean in the past, but they said the results are pretty compelling, and I'm pretty sure when the .NET when it will become globally available or generally available, there will be more features, because there are limitations. Like, for example, some web UI things are not supported at the moment. If you have any IIS applications, they are not supported at the moment. Private Nugget packages, they are not supported at the moment. So there are a number of limitations that AWS is working on to kind of like a fix. Professional version, as I mentioned, works only with ID on Windows, and I think the reason behind it is that some of the execution power is being leveraged by the local computer. So, for example, building the projects and things like that is not necessarily executed somewhere in the sandbox account. It is executed locally on the laptop. So I guess that's the reason why. And my lessons learned is that the code is not 100% accurate. So, for example, as a kind of like a challenge to this Snake game, I asked it to, I don't like Snake game, build me a Mario game instead. So I had like a little square like jumping, but it was not actually able to do anything besides just jumping. So even if it built the platforms, it was not kind of like staying on the platform when I jumped on the platform. When I tried to add like, give me some kind of like an enemy so I can kill something or something can kill me, it was basically just like transparent. Yeah, we were going at each other and things like that. But the interesting thing is that it actually started doing something, right, what I wanted, right? So if I would have enough understanding of the programming languages, very likely I will be in the position to do something useful. There is also one lessons learned after exactly this turning from Snake to Mario game. Use new chat windows or new code repositories for new things, because it remembers the context. So when I had a Snake game and I wanted to turn it into the Mario game, it was a combination of Snake and Mario, basically. That's why I think it just didn't work. So every single time you have a new idea, open a new chat window, ask the question. Even if you refer to the same code, ask the question in new window, because it loses the memory of the previous chat window. For what I think business-wise, like if we're running any kind of like a projects that we need to modernize or transform, or basically even when we migrate these projects to AWS or the infrastructure or whatever, it's great to create a unit test documentation, security scans, and I will show you in a second if we'll have a minute left, because the code that it's generated for me in Python was vulnerable. Yeah, so there is a specific scanning capability in Amazon Q that allows you to basically scan the code and gives you the list of vulnerabilities, which you can then use this output as an input to the prompt to say, hey, please make sure this is like patched and whatever. So it's actually, this bullet point is quite interesting, because this is the job that nobody wants to do. Yeah? If you ask developers to write unit tests, they will say, why? Yeah, I'm senior developer. I'm not supposed to create a test, right? Ask the QA engineers or whoever. Yeah, but it is boring stuff, right? And especially when we face with our customers, in many cases when there is a legacy application that they started developing 30 years ago, half of the people who actually had commits or contributions died already. So there is no way even to ask them like what this piece of code is doing. Amazon Q has this kind of like a explain me what is it, and it will basically tell you what that is. But as I said, after the modernization, like when we run the code in different environments, it's really useful to create these tests to make sure that the transformation was actually successful. Yeah? Because how do we know if we transform one version of the code to another, especially if there is some logic inside? How do we know it's successful? We don't until we test it. It's English only. Sorry, my Italian friends. I know it might be difficult, but it's unfortunately only supporting English prompts and language at the moment. And as I said already, it's time to learn prompt engineering. Yeah? Because these kind of like a prompts that I given, it's very basic. I'm pretty sure if I would give it like a very extensive prompt explaining what I need and what I want, it would be really much better, much more accurate, and will not basically have many problems. There's one thing that is announced by Amazon themselves. They basically claim that they migrated or transformed 2,500 applications or something like that in less than 3 months, or something silly that saved them apparently $260 million and 4,500 years of the development time. Java version, it works in Amazon Q, in normal Mac, Linux, whatever. So if you have Java projects 8 or 11 or whatever, you want to move it to the latest version, feel free to use it. And I'm not sure if we have a minute, but I need to obviously invite you to give me the feedback. And also if you would like to connect, this is my LinkedIn profile as well. And how much time do we have? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah, questions.
One question. Yeah.
I noticed in your VS Code that you had a GitHub Copilot extension as well. And my question is, have you tried like the experiments that you run in both, and like, did you notice any
yes, good question, thank you. I haven't tried with Copilot, I tried with ChatGPT, and the results were devastating, basically. So like, because I was expecting, that's where my kind of like, doubts in this technology came from as well, because I wanted to make sure that how much it gives really the value in terms of like the accuracy, because if it's accurate in 10%, 20%, then it's not good to use. But obviously it depends on the model. So I tried on the ChatGPT, but don't ask me which model I used, because I don't remember. But generally speaking, I think the game creation was not that bad, but creating the Terraform code and whatever, it was like, no, just no. So my experience with Amazon Q was better in terms of like, using it in this context to basically create the infrastructure code as well. So that's my experience.